Hey guys, we're back with the next episode of Sryth, our text-based RPG game here. And previously, we were doing the Proving Grounds of 5, which is the Silver Crest adventure, and we have made it to Linus. But as soon as pretty much we got there, we went to the village that's on the outskirts of it, about 3 miles. I don't remember which direction, and we got accosted and sort of trapped and sucked down into some hole or something. So that's what we are in now. I'm gonna keep going with that. Hopefully, in the next few episodes, we'll finish this off, the next couple, and so we can have our shadow magic, which is what the whole point of this is. Once we do shadow magic, I'm gonna visit my residence, and then we're gonna start back at Hawklore and do quests there. So let's go. The Eye of the Storm. Let's start. Wake up at the start and spring forward into a sitting position. The small windowless room you find yourself in is lit quite brightly by a lantern perched on the edge of the wooden table next to the lone door. Just beyond the door you hear at least 2 distinct voices engaged in what sounds like a heated exchange. Cautiously you rise to your feet and steal toward the door. You take only a few steps, however, when it suddenly flies open, and much to your relief, Halan strides into the room. She looks relieved to see you up and about. It's not the bit of stag, but it's the best that could be done, given the present state of affairs, she says, smiling. We've been waiting for you to wake up, Allison. We've been waiting for you to wake up, Allison. What? You're about to speak when the 2 tall, hooded men enter the room behind Alan. One of them steps forward and casts off his hood. You nearly gasp aloud in alarm upon beholding his bearded face. He is, without a doubt, one of the men who pursues you into Linus. The man notes your surprise, bows quickly, and introduces himself as Harakir. Halan and Harakir. I know who you are, Allison, says Harakir, the man you recall from Halan's tale as being one of the valiant members of the League of Five. Yes, it was I who trailed you into Linus with my partner. He, for you, were in considerable danger, though we were under strict orders not to meet up with you, for such obvious confederation would have jeopardized much. Instead, we kept watch from afar and dealt more than one devastating but secretive blow to those who pursued you with wicked intent. None detail that Harakir, the hooded man standing next to him, have spared you ambush from no less than 5 occasions since you arrived in Linus. It was imperative that you arrived in Grimswick without being followed, said the hooded man standing next to Harakir, and for the most part we succeeded. The shadow dragon you encountered just before the village was the most unfortunate and certainly not random. I do not believe it was actually Madraxa, but it reveals the deep and perilous nature of the agency in his employ. The hooded figure steps forward and places his hand on your shoulder. I thought you might have recognized my voice, but perhaps you're just a bit weary yet. Is it Rinduel? It is. The figure standing before you throws back his hood and you find yourselves staring at Rinduel, the grey-haired leader of the Silver Crest, a man you've come to know both as an ally and a friend, initiates a shoulder cross. Harakir saw fit to equip me with a beard much like his own, smiled Rinduel, and I dare say I would hardly have recognized myself in it. I apologize for any alarm it may have caused you, but I can only say it was a necessary measure. I'm glad to be rid of the beard, though. You like to know? Rinduel again places a hand on your shoulder and looks you squarely in the eye. I've kept a great many things secret from those I've known these many years, he says in an apologetic tone. Lon has told me that she's made my past clear to you, and yet I beg your forgiveness that you did not hear it straight from me, my dear friend. There are to be no more such secrets. You are certainly glad to see Rinduel again, and quite happy that he's come to no apparent harm, and for the next small while you relate to the others the events that brought you from your parting with Halan to the door of Bitter Stag in Grimswick. Rinduel listens carefully to your narrative and then fills you in on the details of his own recent doings. Where I've been, what I've seen, what I've learned since the night I last parted company with you is filled me with no end of terror, he says. We're embroiled in a dark, wicked enterprise that's taken root in the shadows, grown unchecked under the veil of night, which only now has begun to take on its true insidious form, yet it may already be too late. The 4 of you, yourself, Rinduel, Harakir, and Halan, step out of the small room and into a larger lamp-lit chamber where half a dozen chairs surround a circular table. Rinduel sits in motion for the rest of you to follow suit. When everyone is seated, he proceeds to relate to you that he has presumably already told the others. You learn that when he abruptly left the headquarters of Silvercrest on the fateful evening, he was fast on the track of Madraxa himself. The dragon was near on that night. It says the shadows spoke to me more clearly than they had ever in the last 100 years. That every whisper was a warning issued in desperation, and I realized that I was in grave danger to those around me. For Madraxa was closing in on me, and me alone. Rindelwald tells you that Madraxa had at last emerged from the shadows in which he had dwelt to exact revenge on those 3 surviving members of the League of Five, and by the same breath to protect a plot now drawing near to the time of its execution. I was the easiest to find, no doubt, said Rindelwald, for though I kept my past a secret, I did not live in obscurity. But Madraxa was out for more than revenge. While my demise was a pressing mark for him, he had more darker, more far-reaching plans afoot. I soon learned that his powers of mind control had grown in their potency, for he nearly succeeded in gaining mastery over me when I last came face to face with him on the outskirts of Trithik. Rindelwald tells you that while making his way out of Trithik, he encountered Madraxa in human form. He has a human form? Psh, psh, psh. At a spot where the road plunges into the deep forest that borders the river, you learn surprisingly enough that at first the encounter was not one of violence, and indeed the shadow dragon seemed somewhat conciliatory in his manner. The shadows never ceased screaming their warnings to me, said Rindelwald, as I found myself waging a battle to regain control of my thoughts as the dragon's potent mind control vied for ownership of my very being. I've no doubt he wished to attempt to transfix me and bring me into the fold as a powerful but subservient minion, but he was finally forced to engage me. At last, able to escape, Rindelwald tells you that he fled with all possible haste to Telenas, following up on any ages-old clue, and guided by the whispers of the shadows with the hope of somehow finding Sryth in the kingdom's capital. His only line of hope, he says, was that together with the Master of Shadow Magic, defeat might be wrought upon the dragon and his schemes. Madraxa did not pursue me further, said Rindelwald, but Priyan and Idriska did. I spent several sleepless nights, long harrowing days evading them over the open country between Trithik and Telenas. Yes, Alison, they have fallen, their minds now firmly in the control of Madraxa, and he will do with them as he pleases. I very much doubt we will ever again know our dear friends as we have known them. What? Rindelwald tells you that while in Telenas, the shadows led him to Harakir, who was already roaming the city in search of Sryth. He too had found himself the target of Madraxa's minions, barely able to escape from them with his life on more than one occasion. Harakir told Rindelwald to Grimswick by the cover of night, and here in the cellar of Candleglow Inn, they, along with recently arrived Halan, have eagerly awaited you. The portal that brought you down here was Harakir's doing, said Rindelwald, stirring your mind of the shadowy door through which you tumbled before waking in the inn cellar. These rooms are long ago sealed off, and there's no conventional way in or out of them, as perhaps you're versed in gating, or particularly handy with a pick and a shovel. I am good at gating, actually. This place affords us, at least for now, the rare luxury of secrecy. You question Rindelwald further about Priyan and Idriska, interested to learn more about the likely fate of your long-time fellow members of the Silvercrest. Rindelwald sighs heavily. Like Trail Talk before them, and undoubtedly countless of the souls whose minds never entertain even a hint of wickedness, they are under the black spell of the dragon, he says grimly. I can only tell you that Madraxa's spell has held sway over Trail Talk, a man whose mind and resolve are more formidable for centuries without a baiting. For the foreseeable future, as much as it saddens me, Priyan and Idriska must no longer be considered allies. They are at this moment, without exaggeration, two of our most dangerous foes. Harakir tells you that he, like Rindelwald, was led to Telenas in search of Sryth, hoping that the Master of Shadow Magic would provide counsel or indeed reunite with his old comrades in the face of Madraxa's re-emergence. We were led here inexplicably to the bitter stag in Grimswick, he says, and when we at last beheld our mysterious prescribed destination as a pile of ash, we feared the worst. The minions of Madraxa had proved to be one step ahead of us again. You ask Harakir how he and Rindelwald learned of the bitter stag, and your pulse quickens when he tells you that the sudden appearance of a young street urchin in Telenas who seemed to know much about their affairs. Halan exchanges a knowing glance with you, and the two of you relate to Rindelwald and Harakir, how you presumably met the same lad on your way to Telenas. Yes, We met the boy again in a mysterious alley as we come to know him, just outside the ruins of the ale house, said Rindelwald. That's how we ended up here in the cellar of the inn. I expected very much to again lay eyes upon my old friend Sryth, but I need not tell you of my dismay when after getting ourselves here we found the cellar empty, that is, save for this. What is it? Rindelwald produces a thin book with worn leather cover. An ornate but tarnished brass clasp holds the book closed. It was sitting on the table when we arrived, said Hurricane, waving his hand in the direction of the book that Rindelwald promptly hands to you. We've been unable to open it. It's why your safe arrival was imperative. All our efforts seem to lead to this moment. I believe the cover alone may give you a start. You stare down wistfully for the book that Rindelwald has placed in your hand, stitched in silver thread. In the exact center of the worn leather cover is your name. What? Allison. A powerful, disorienting sensation washes over you as you grasp the leather-bound book. With a shrill snap, the brass clasp that held the book closed tightly springs open. A lurid yellow light spills out of the tone, washing over you and filling the chamber with an eerie glow that quickly fades. In the wake of the glow, your disorientation lessens, and you are surprised to discover the book is actually a clever disguised box now lying open before you. Resting at the bottom of the shadow box is a large black gem attached to a leather strap. You're about to reach in and take hold of the strange but magnificent object when a small voice from the corner of the room startles everyone at the table. I am here. Your heads whip in the direction of the voice, and you start to see the young lad who predicted your future at the pheasant festival of Hapsprim, and who later drove the wagon that helped you and Helene escape from the agents of Adraxa. The sharp looks adorning your face of Rindelwald and Harakir tell you that they are staring at the same street urchin that spoke of having met Intelinus, who pointed them to Grimswick, and ultimately showed them to this very place. I am here, repeats the sandy-haired lad. Though I dare say, as none of you expected to find me, I pray that you will listen to what I must impart to you. For time, it must be Sryth. Who else is it? For time grows short, and for the task that lies before you, you shall most certainly need my guidance. Yes, I am here, I who you know and have known as Sryth, but I'm not long for this world, and pity it is, for the shadow falls upon it like no other ever has. I only wish against the frailty of my ebbing health that I'm strong enough to act with you. I am not so. So upon your shoulders it must fall, and there it shall rest. The lad steps forward, and he does a rapid transformation comes over him. His form scratches into that of a tall, slender adult. His sandy locks turns black and grey and lengthen to splash down over his broad and shoulders. His face, which only moments ago bore the brightly hued vivacity of youth, is now creased and pale, and the tunic and breeches have been replaced by a black robe drawn in about his waist by a plain piece of rope. Master, cries Helene. Her voice betrayed her relief as she once again lay her eyes upon her cherished mentor. Rindelwald and Harakir do not vocalize their sentiments, though you feel they are no less moved by the transformation appearance of the familiar figure. Magic prolongs, shadow magic prolongs most of all, says Sryth. Yet there is an end to all things, and my end is at hand. It would be dishonest that I do not look forward to coming rest. Or busy have I been these past many centuries, and deafening at times are the whispers that are at every waking moment fill my head. You certainly cannot pass, said Rindelwald incredulously. There's something we can do. You have but to name it. Silence, was Sryth. His voice sounded more like the bellow of some enraged beast than that of a frail human mage who, by his own admission, rests on the doorsteps of death. I am passed out of this world like all those before and all those after me. It is pure insolence to think otherwise. You will listen and do as I say, for there is much you need to know, and there is less time than I would otherwise wish to impart it to you. Sryth extends his hand, and a band of shadow slips away from the nearest table leg and forms into a tall, gnarled staff upon which he leans heavily. For the first time you notice that his breathing is shallow and somewhat irregular. You sense that he has not exaggerated his dire condition. Do not think that my imminent passing and return of Adraxa are similar events, for one is very much connected with the other. The dragon's mastery of shadow magic easily rivals my own, though for the sake of retaining hope I resist granting him imagined superiority in it. My imminent passing is without a doubt known to him, and he sees the opportunity to present to put into action his foul plans. I have not been idle these past centuries. Indeed, I have choked him at every move. He eventually saw fit to rest his larger schemes on the chance that I would one day no longer threaten his dark enterprise. That day arrives, and we see the budding of the fruits of this infernal patience. Sryth pauses and takes several deep, laboured breaths. My time is short. Allow me to be brief on this point, he says. Madraxa seeks to rule of all that he views as his domain. His agents populate the courts of every monarch across the North Broadlands, and the time draws near that his power will be such that he will act through them, using his mastery of mind control to form the very thoughts that will issue the spoken words in the mouths of generals, knights, lords, thanes, kings, and queens. I need not tell you that the dark age that will commence following such secretive and widespread usurpation it would be no less the unraveling of all that we have known. Yes, Madraxa is not yet prepared to strike. Answering the question is likely in the minds of everyone in the room. He wishes to gather his power more quickly. No. With the outset of the mighty smiles, and one fell swoop bring the fruition to his wicked designs. His delay gives us a sliver of hope for my 200 years search of the Eye of Angora only last month reached a successful conclusion. I had hoped to retrieve the artifact myself, but such task is beyond me now. And under the Eye of Angora is a large enchanted emerald which Sryth believes has the power to counteract and dispel mind-affecting magic. The eye, he tells you, appears in several ancient legends but has been lost for the last 2,000 years. In the depths of the Neverness, I chanced upon a clue that took me 50 years to trace. My search led me to the edge of a fiery realm, into the gates of the hall, the great king of fire. There, somewhere in those flaming passages, lies the Eye of our Angora, and perhaps the last chance we have to send to ruin the plans of the Shadow Dragon. Master, said Alana, voice resolute, what hope have we if you are not with us? Without your power to rival his own, he will have nothing left to fear, and he will crush us at first. Can we not? There, interrupts Sryth, pointing with his frail hand to the black gem and the leather strand on the bottom of the box on the table. Perhaps you do not recognize that stone, for there was only ever a handful of them. It's a stone of conveyance, and the one thing that sets my mind at ease, even if my departure becomes imminent. Allison, take hold of the stone. Heeding the words of the ancient master of shadow magic, reach in the box and find your hand around the large gem. Almost instantly your mind is filled with countless unfathomable images that sail by in rapid succession. Your head echoes the roaring hiss of a thousand whispers. We've acquired shadow magic! Your current level of mastery is 10. Part of my mastery of shadow magic is now bestowed upon you, Allison, said Sryth. I hope that you will find the shadows as accommodating as I have these many centuries. You will certainly come to know them, as I fear you must. Sryth explains that along with his knowledge of shadow magic, the stone of conveyance has imparted to you the window into his own spirit, which he hopes to be able to aid you as best he can, even when he is no longer among the living. There's no other course that will suffice, he says, look in turn to everyone present. Excuse me. Gross. Excuse me. The Eye of Angora must be found, and its power must be used to dispel the magic of Madraxa that casts its shadows over so much. Without his mind magic at his disposal, even the mighty Madraxa, powerful as he may remind, is after all only a dragon. Didn't you once say that, Rinduil? Yes, we did, spells Rinduil. They're all only dragons. Heracles laughed nervously. Alon's brown furrow as she smirks. The somber mood that has hung over this meeting is momentarily lifted, and you sense that great weight has been lifted off of the very soul of the ancient shadow mage. And he's giving me shadow magic. For all the magic I've summoned and wielded, I have but one task left to undertake, said Sryth. I shall again open a gate into the fiery Neverall realm of which I speak. There, in the halls of the great Fire King, you, Allison, must venture alone. No more than one may hope to pass through the portal I craft with that remains of my depleted power. Near tells that you are to locate and retrieve the Eye of Angoro and return as swiftly as you can. You will need to make haste upon your return. He warns you all. Through the shadows, when Jackson will learn of your conquest and will know of your newfound weapon, he will move swiftly and with great force to crush any preemptive strike. And will you still be here? Asked Haraki. I will reserve what strength and potency I have left to reappear upon the return of Allison, replies Nerith. We shall then attempt to strike at the weakest link in the dragon's formidable chain of power, and by the hand of the Allfather may it prove the undoing of his wicked game. Nerith looks at each of you in turn and bows before taking 2 steps toward the corner of the chamber. You watch with great fascination as a frail black-robed shadow mage rapidly transforms once again into the sandy-haired youth whose spirit seems to bear none of the oppressive weight that hangs heavy over the rest of you. With a quick nod, the lad shimmers brightly and vanishes. Well, that was certainly something, said Wendell. Halon nods. Where's this portal to the realm of fire? Said Haraki, throwing up his hands. It's all well and good with that Master Nerith has his plans, but it all seems a bit cryptic and uncertain to me. If I were to make any suggestion, it would be that the loud crackling, intense heat, and bright orange glow of the roaring fire suddenly fills the room, and the four of you turn and stare in silence as a tall arch of flame blazing away against the south wall between the burning columns swirls and an inky vortex. Well then, there we have it, says Haraki. I don't even have to finish this quest. I can just leave and now that I have shadow magic, because that's what I came here for. And I think I will, because I think I'd rather do the other proving grounds before. So all I have left is Troll Bond, which I can get from Proving Grounds, the Troll one, and then Lances, which comes from going to Harangard. Alright, so I've gotten the experience because now I can train shadow magic powers. Shadow magic. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose. There used to be a great tower alone on the sea. You became the light on the dark side of me. Love remains. My nose is itchy, I don't know why. Did you know when it snows, my eyes become large and alright? We might as well go to 80 on this. Baby, I can tell you a kiss from a rose on green. Yes, let's do 80 on this. What happened? My game's frozen. I was like, how can the game be frozen? Alright, restoration. What else do we want to be 80? I mean, mostly I think protection spell or something. Alright, now what about skills? so I'm not gonna finish that. I just wanted to get Shadow Magic, which now I have. I've lost my mouse. Maybe it's dying. This is what you think was happening? Yeah, I think maybe it's dying with the light screen. So we can go back to Southwest, we can go back to Hawklaw. And we're in Hawklaw. Alright. So this is the side of the game, you guys. You usually start in Hawklaw. You're in Hawklaw, a small settlement nestled against the eastern flank of the Hot Hills in southwest Hisa. The inhabitants of Hawklaw, mostly farmers and woodcutters, have long enjoyed a prosperity born out of fruitful commerce in cities like Sryth, Linus, and Mergsville. Oddly enough, an unmistakable mood of gloom hangs over the thriving village. The people of Hawklaw seem anxious, even frightened about something. You learn that few of the settlers remain willing to venture past the boundaries of the village. There's a strange hum, apparently. Alright. I guess I can't play anymore right now. We'll try again tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging out. Until next time, peace.